What's up YouTube, Dedra here, bringing another video today. Today I want to go over the YCSs that happened over the last weekend. There was one in North America and one in Europe. I'm not really going to go over what the names were. First off, one was in Niagara Falls, the other one was in, I have no clue how to pronounce it, and I don't even want to try. It might be easy, but for me, I don't really want to go over it. But anyway, before we get into the YCSs that happened this weekend, I want to just say I haven't been making very many videos lately. I have been really trying to come up with really good ideas, trying to make more original content that I enjoy a lot more, rather than just like, hey, this card's coming out, let's talk about it. So I'm kind of wanting to do a few different things, and I have some ideas, some really cool ideas that if I get the Sunday off, I'm very excited because I have a really good video that I'm going to be putting up if I get Sunday off and able to go to locals. But I have been starting work, so bouncing between work and Yugioh will be a little bit more difficult, but we'll see. Anyway, guys, let's get into this. First off, let's go over the Europe one. There's a little bit less to talk about in the Europe one. So first off, we have Sky Striker and Orcus tied at the most tops in the top 32, which is both 6 decks being 18.8%. These are kind of to be expected. Orcus is a very, very strong deck, even playing just the pure variants. It does really well. It's able to play through a lot of hand traps, be able to play through this, even Nibiru not having to special summon as many times sometimes. So it's a very, very strong deck. And then Sky Striker, well, it's been around forever. It's super, super good. I feel like Sky Striker is one of the actually lesser decks of the format. Like, obviously it's very good and it's showing numbers here in the YCSs, but I feel like it has a lot of vulnerabilities, a lot of issues with it, and one of the only reasons that it's being played more is people are scared of Nibiru, which is kind of giving it that more of a top representation because they just don't want to lose to being able to create a board and then just losing it. But stuff like Twin Twisters becoming a little bit more relevant within the meta, and stuff like that is probably pretty good for the game because it changes up what you have to play, how you have to deck build and stuff like that. For example, like strikers just lose to a Twin Twister sometimes, or like Imperial Order. There's so many floodgates that really hurt this deck that it's actually pretty crazy. But anyway, let's go into the next topping deck, which is just Lunalight Orcus. Okay, so that had 5 tops, which is like, alrighty then. At 15.6%, why is Lunalight Orcus doing so well? Well, first off, like I said, the Orcus engine is just insanely good. Being able to get that counter trap that negates anything. Have a Nibiru that, or not Nibiru, Dingrisu that can pop a card or protect any cards that you have. Which is just, it's a very, very strong deck. It always has plays for next turn in the graveyard, and there's just always things it can do, like, going on within the game. Once you out their initial board, they can usually still play on their next turn. So that's one of the big things within the game right now. Next up is Thunder Dragon. We have 4 of these in the top, so 12.5%. Now, why is Thunder Dragon not doing as well? Because a lot of people were projecting it to be like one of the best decks of the format, probably the safest thing to play. Well, the tin cards happened, Nibiru, Dark Ruler no more. Even though we're not actually seeing a whole lot of Dark Ruler no more, it's more just Nibiru. The single card is just destroying the meta because it's like, do you want to play a deck that you're just going to lose to a single card if they draw it and break their board? Probably not, especially when it's a 3-of. They can consistently get it, and it's just a very, very strong card that just generally kind of ruins your whole aspect of the deck. So there's that. And then the next up here we have Salamangreat with 2 of them. This deck didn't perform as well in Europe as it did in North America. We'll get into that later. But Salamangreat is still a great deck, no pun intended. But it's still very good. It's very viable. It still has its consistencies. It loses a lot of its power because you have to sometimes go into your Gazelle from your deck with Mirage Stelio, or it's just not as powerful in general. If you stop some of their plays, they kind of just have to kind of like end their turn and not really do too much. A lot of times on Dueling Book, I'll see a Bailing's Pass, and that's their whole play. So it's just not as good as it once was, but still viable within the format. Then we have one Cyber Dragon Orcus. It's just the Cyber Dragon engine. Being able to go for OTKs, playing all the Cyber Dragon cards alongside Orcus that gets either your counter trap. It allows you to play around Nibiru a little bit more, from what I'm told. And then just, the whole difference is instead of doing, the Orcus combo right off the bat, you make Cyber Dragon Mega Fleet with your opponent's monster and then go to the Orcus combo. So that's kind of what that's about. And then we have one Spiral Orcus. On the EU charts, it was only named as Spiral, but I looked into the deck profile. They were definitely playing the Orcus engine, a very small Orcus engine, but it gets you to your trap, a counter trap in the same way as anything else would. So kind of that, and then other actually had seven tops as other. I don't really like how Europe actually did this. They just kind of skipped out on stuff like Alter. I know on Altergeist topped. I'm not sure. I heard Muskets may have got a top spot, but I'm not really too sure on that one. And I don't. I really tried to look into what these other seven decks were, but I just couldn't find them. So, yeah. Now I did redo this chart to what makes more sense to me. Instead of putting all the Orcus separately, like the Lunalight, the Cyberdrake, and the Spiral, I kind of lumped them all together just because I feel like it kind of just makes more sense. These decks wouldn't really be doing as much. Maybe Spiral would have got a top without the Orcus stuff, but it's less likely. Same with Cyber Dragons, they could have got another top, which they did in North America, but it's very unlikely, and it's really just due to the Orcus engine. Same with Lunalights. Yes, maybe they might be able to get a top with Danger or whatever. They have that variant, but now they're just moving on to a new engine, which is the Orcus. So we lumped them all together, and that brings us to 40% or 40.6% compared to all the other decks. Now, when you look at that, that has 13. The next highest is Other with 7, and then Sky Striker with 6, which is less than half the amount of tops. I feel like this is very, overwhelming to see this many Orcus stuff in decks. We'll move on to the North American YCS now. Alright, so for the North American YCS, we have a little bit better placing for Sky Strikers, and sorry, don't mind this graph not looking quite as good. There was just way too many things to write out, and it just wouldn't really fit. So I just had to kind of give it more plain writing. But yeah, 7 Sky Strikers, so 23%, which realistically, this shows just how consistent the deck is. It has pretty much the same amount of tops in North America and Europe as these YCSs. So it kind of shows how powerful the deck actually is and how relevant it is. And then we have the next one being Salamangreat and Orcus at 4. Now, Salad doing a little bit better. Kind of makes sense. I think there's a lot more American fans of Salamangreat, to be honest with you. Not only that, it's Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! Is super random, a lot, like, very, very luck stacky at times, and there's really no, like, really super consistent way of knowing you're gonna win every game. So the fact that it's only 2 more isn't that really big of a difference. It kind of makes sense. And then Pure Orcus, I think that the reason Pure Orcus got less tops in this is just because realistically, it's a lot less people are playing the pure variant. I think there's a lot more people playing different variants with different things, and the way Konami really lumped all these decks in North America is kind of weird. I like the fact that we're more specific and we get to see every deck that topped, but at the same time, is Orcus and Danger Orcus really that much different than each other? Really, no. It's just playing in different engines, so it's kind of weird how Konami does that. So then we have Cyber Dragon Orcus. Danger Cyber Dragon Orcus that got 2 tops. Danger Orcus that got 2 tops. Cyber Dragon Orcus that got 2 tops. Altergeist that also got 2 tops. Only one Thunder Dragon. This one's probably the most significant difference in the format. In the between North America and Europe. I think a lot more people in North America are actually shying away from Thunder Dragons. That might be part of the reason, or just a lot of the Thunder Dragon players got Nibiru'd, and that just happens. And then we have 1 Subterror, 1 Danger Lunalight, 1 Danger Lunalight Orcus, 1 Danger Grenmaju, which ended up winning the event. Congrats, I guess. The deck's kind of luck stacky a little bit, but it's not really that bad of a deck. And then we have 1 Danger Crusadia Orcus and 1 Pure Cyber Dragon. Congrats to you, buddy, who made it without playing any of the other engines. Really good for you. It's awesome that you were able to do this. Congrats, man. And then so we'll update this chart like I did the other one. So we have Orcus getting 13 decks, which is our 40% of it. Not 13, 12. My bad. But we have 12 decks topping for Orcus, which is even 40%. Still, once again, showing how powerful this deck is, showing the consistencies of the decks even within the different variants. It's really, like, okay. And then we have 7 Sky Strikers. Obviously, we went over all of this. So what we're kind of seeing here is like just the overwhelming like amount of Orcus is being played within the format. And what does this mean? Is it bad? Is it good? Is this diversity? Is it not? Well, in my opinion, it's not really diversity. The difference is, you know, you might make a Lunalite monster, or you might make a Cyber Dragon monster before doing the Orcus combo. It's the same thing with a few different steps and maybe a few different variants, but it's not like that big of a change. It's essentially still showing what the problem card is, and the problem card here is Mermaid. Mermaid is a bit of an issue because it makes the Orcus engine so splashable. Now, I don't really mind when an engine is splashable, like the dangers and stuff like that. The dangers are pretty overpowered in general, but for what they do, it's pretty fair. But when you have a deck like Orcus, which gets you a counter trap rather than just getting you extenders, I feel like that's an issue. You know, you're still doing your Orcus stuff. You're just mixing this deck in with other stuff. It becomes a problem. I think Orcus as a pure deck is a very, very fair deck, a very a fairly healthy deck for the game. But I feel like when you're just mixing it into everything and calling it diversity, I think that's just BS, and I don't think that's really that good for the game. I feel like that's just a big thing that people will want to say because they want to be able to play, well, I played my Cyber Dragon, or I played Lunalite. I finally got a top with them. It's like, did you really get a top with them, or did you top because of the Danger engine, or did you top because of the Orcus engine? Is it really the Cyber Dragons doing the work, or is it the other engine doing the work? That's just my opinion, and a lot of people might disagree with me, but I feel like we gotta hit Mermaid here. And then what do we do with Sky Striker? Because I feel like fairly all the other decks are fairly like even. I think if we hit Sky Striker too hard, then we kind of take out the best control deck of the format. Even though we have Salad, that's kind of like a hybrid between control and combo, and then we have Altergeist, which Altergeist is kind of more inconsistent. It's not. It's a little bit more Luxacky, and once again, you're setting a bunch of traps and stuff like that. So maybe we just hit a minor consistency hit. We hit maybe Widow Anchor to 2 or Engage to 2. Just a little bit of a consistency hit within the Sky Striker game. I'm not really sure what to do, because if we kill off this deck, we lose our best control deck of the format, and then pure Orcus is just going to dominate, because I don't believe that pure Orcus should be hit in any other way. I don't think they should hit Galatea to 1 yet. I feel like it's just not time. I think Orcus still should have a little bit of time in the metagame. It's the same with Sky Striker, even though they've been around for so long, and it might be a little bit biased because I play Strikers, but I feel like if it would actually kind of hurt the game more if we killed off the Sky Striker deck than it would be to leave it within the game for a little bit longer, at least for one more ban list before we kind of kill off these decks, and then we make room for whatever's coming next. But within like Chaos Impact and stuff like that, there's not a whole lot coming out. Sure, there's Striker Dragon that's going to bring the Rocket deck to be very, very consistent. But once again, it kind of loses to Nibiru. It's one of those decks that, is it really going to get played that much? Yeah, it will be played, definitely. It's going to do some things over here. But with Nibiru running around in the format and people kind of be straying away from those decks, they might not want to do it as much. Anyway, guys, that's what I have to say about the YCSs that happened this weekend. That's what I have to say about the kind of current format. We'll have another video coming out to you again within either tomorrow or the next day. Within the next 2 days, we'll have another video. Please comment, like, subscribe. It means a lot to me, and we'll talk to you later.